broader data marketplace. I think a lot of people hear data marketplace and they think maybe ocean protocol, or they think of a centralized place. And really your vision of underwriting data becomes kind of like an index to the NASDAQ or...
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess I'd love to jump there. So TLDR is that right now, our traditional financial system in a lot of ways, and most of these companies are propping themselves up on the collection of user data and their ability to take products to market. So essentially you have this kind of like pairing between, Fortune 500 companies and this sort of dark data market that, sort of underpins the whole situation there. But what's kind of interesting, what we've seen over the last 2 years, and by the way, that's been happening for decades. We've seen over the last, several years is that, the crypto space has blown up and actually created the first, decentralized like ecosystem and environment that has really kind of, gone leaps and bounds and sort of changed the face of like, from the perspective of like Napster or something. Really gone and shown that like decentralization is the future. And so what's really happening here is that when we actually, think about decentralization and being a part of just a person who has an address or a person who has a node, is you're sharing access to your, data with somebody else. And, participating in some type of a process to verify and validate that state and that data. And this is really the holy grail for that entire industry, the data marketplaces and the people who want to get access to your stuff through Facebook because they want to sell you stuff or, buy an election. And so like what we can actually do is create decentralized alternatives that are backed in these data structures that allow for this information to be, transacted and interacted upon within our economy, and also connected to us as data producers and sort of connect us inside of the ecosystem and the capitalist food chain of like how this whole kind of thing happens. And so the TLDR here is that by what blockchain technology like really was, promising to do was the ability to underwrite the entire world with some kind of a understanding or guarantee, or at least something on top of the physical state of reality. But by actually, what we found was that consensus processes themselves weren't able to scale to, what our IoT world can scale to. What it needs to in order to provide that kind of a reality from just like a networking perspective. So all of this stuff, what it really amounts to is basically the ability to tokenize the data pipelines that operate all of this sort of interconnected world that's being built around us. And so it allows for us to monetize our just very beingness, whether you want to have like a website or just create your own NFT or something. Like this is a way to interact with the economy on, your own terms and, in order to sort of, basically create an index, if you will, that already exists for the greater economy itself of the data marketplace and these data marketplace industries, which, will have a net utility benefit for all the players involved. It's just the growth of the economy to understand that information just by being a commodity itself and how it's being sold in these secondary markets kind of negates the whole theory of arbitrage, which is that having extra information about other people can't give you an advantage in the market. Like these algorithms are fundamentally like just show that like, these original systems of like, like welfare economics aren't really possible when somebody has an added advantage, on that. And so this sort of fixes that, but also creates new opportunities for wealth and stabilization of people's like day-to-day lives that's not maintained by a small centralized bank or something like that. So I think it's pretty tight. And one thing that I think is really cool is that like a lot of folks, when they see this shit and they see what I just showed you all about the the streams, is that people, build data pipelines, processing shit, every day, like, with using these bits of information to help marketing campaigns and do this, that, and the other, and all this stuff. Like a lot of these different existing data pipelines out there could just be tokenized with like the flip of a switch with this. And so what this does is it basically, is a backdoor to this existing like whole world, and it brings it online and into a brand new marketplace that, is, I don't really need to pitch economics to you to do it, but yeah, so that's the whole thing. And that's kind of how we do that. So get ready, datapreneurs.